Hello and welcome back. I am the one who works here now, your host for this little presentation, and I'm happy to be here with you again, talking about some of the ideas and thoughts within what is known pejoratively or kindly as the New Age. Whether that description be too generic uh, or too specific, that's the definition that is large enough to encompass what I want to discuss. And so that's the term that I use. Today, I want to talk about the notion that there are some people who aren't real. That when we look around the world today and as we start to waken up, you know, and realize that maybe all the things that we were taught aren't necessarily true, and we start to explore and grow and learn and question, we can look around the world and we can see that many people will tell us that there's an explanation for why some people just ain't no good, or why some people just seem not alive, right? Drones, right? Dead inside, soulless, right? Somehow just a little bit less fleshed out, organic, and real than we feel, and maybe we feel about the ones closest to us and most important to us. There can be, in the New Age diaspora, there can be benign formulations, presentations, and framings of subjects, and there can be darker ways of describing and presenting this data, these questions, and this information. Let's start with a benign and positive worldview. There's a teacher, she's no longer with us on planet Earth, by the name of Dolores Cannon, peace be upon her. Dolores Cannon had a teaching about what she called backdrop people. I'd like to start here because it is essentially, to me, and in my opinion, what I would call a benign expression. An expression of this idea of the fact that there are people that are wholly present in reality, and that there's some people that are bit players, backdrop, extras, if you will, in the play of life. Her teaching, why I call it benign, is because it encompasses and is part of a teaching that basically says that we are the choosers and creators of this reality. Whether you accept that as metaphor, uh, flavorful explanation of a philosophical concept, or whether you accept that as a real descriptive of how consciousness and perception and existence really works. Her explanation, and I'll link to a short video that's a clip from a larger lecture she gave. Maybe you'll pick up on what I'm talking about. It's very similar in many ways to concepts in what's known as Advaita philosophy in Hinduism. The notion that essentially kind of a benign or golden solipsism that says that, we really are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams, and that there may be co-creators, but that does not change the fact that we are creators and we are in control. Whether you think it's just a way, whether you think it's pablum, whether you think it's a silly explanation, superstition, or an opiate for a pain that can't be cured, life can be tough. And sometimes it helps if we've got an explanation that helps us take what we may be perceiving as negative and reframes it, even if only in our minds, to something that we are in control of or something that we don't need to be scared of because either the consequences that we perceive and fear aren't really present and real. No one really dies. It's all just one grand illusion. You choose these things, you choose these experiences, you're here to learn a lesson, you know, like the shot at the doctor's office. It may hurt for a minute, but the teaching, the lesson, the benefit goes on, and you're better for having experienced it. A reframing. I have no problem with this personally. I think that if there's a way that you could, without the need of an external drug or device or methodology or assistance, be able to change your worldview, and in doing so, change your experiential reality, I think that's a good thing. It can be taken too far, maybe, but in the land of metaphor, it certainly works, right? Are you really better off for saying life is life and life is tough and life is terrible and that's just it? And all you people living in fantasy land thinking that God works in mysterious ways, right? Or this is just a lesson, or it's always darkest before the dawn. Blah. Life is short, life is doo-doo, and soon it will be over. What's the point of that? There's a way to think about things that makes life more enjoyable and doesn't hurt anybody else. I say go for it. It can get complex at the edges, maybe. Maybe there are times when it can be taken too far or set someone over the edge or into a dangerous thinking pattern. But let's leave that aside for now. And let's just go back to Dolores Cannon's teachings about the background people. Okay, here's how Dolores Cannon might explain it. You go into an airport. There may be hundreds of people milling around, interacting, doing things in the background. Dolores would say that just like a play or a movie, the camera is focused on the experiencer. And in the background, there are people and individuals acting as extras, if you will, set set pieces, right? And that essentially they're not real. In the same way that many people think of this as a holographic universe, and our perception of a tree, a bush, a flower, a stool might be wholly taking place solely within our perception, she would argue that these individuals in the background, too, are holograms. They're just there. And she explained that if you went up and spoke to one of these people, that it would be you, your energy, your vibe, your prana, your thoughts, your fears, your anxieties, your hopes and dreams that would energize these people, put the dialogue in their mouth, put the expression on their face, their actions, their metaphor, their emotions, their ideas, their gestures. You were merely giving this extra a bit part in the movie. Her philosophy doesn't mean that there's not other people that are real as well. She believes in a co-created universe, but she does teach and believe, or believed, no, scratch that, believes that some people are these holographic people. In many ways, this is similar, like I said, to many thoughts or ideas within Hindu philosophy, or what is more known properly as Sanatana Dharma, especially in things like Advaita philosophy or certain things of non-dualistic approaches that basically say that we are the universe, and this experience that we have of being small in the universe is a fantasy that we're playing out, having gotten tired of being the one, the all encompassing, the all integrated, the unity. Having tired of that role, we decide to play a game called differentiation, called dispersion, called separation, called fear, right? Called isolation, contraction. Before we dance the dance and decide, that was fun, let's go back and wake up to who we really are. Universal love light, Ananda. So if we think of Dolores Cannon's teaching here as being benign, a benign aspect of New Age philosophy, we do know that the New Age paradigm has a shadow, just like us, a dark side. A side that says, that might explain these holographic entities, not in terms of our aspects of our creation, but aspects of a prison planet, a system, a matrix reality that has been bound to us and binds us and hides us and deludes us and captures us. It's not our choice to have gone from universal love, light, bliss, to this contracted reality. It was done to us by the archons, by the whomever, the grays, whomever. Some of the teachings of David Icke go in this direction. Though it should be noted, and we must talk about the fact that David Icke, essentially at his conclusion of his philosophy, ends back up at universal love, right? But for another time. But for now, talking about this, we know that there have been expressions about this notion of these holographic entities, as I said, not being part of our choosing, right? But rather being part of something that's happening to us. They're AI, they're androids from the reptilian Orion boobas, you know what I mean? They're organic portals, they're psychopaths, they're soulless, they're non-human, they're alien, they're walk-ins, right? I don't want to name names, but you know who I'm talking about. And if you don't, you can Google these terms: clones, drones. There are many teachings in the darker New Age that go this way and teach us that we must resist and fight these etheric entities, these puppets, parading as people, but who are anything but. Now I want to make an argument, a philosophical and ethical argument, why, even if it be true, really true, not metaphor, right? Not literary illusion, but reality, that there are people amongst us who aren't real people. How even if this is the case, we should still treat every single individual we meet as if they are real. The argument is a simple one, and it goes essentially like this. Say I were to go out in the world and say, today I'm going to engage in a spiritual practice. I am going to do an empathy exercise where I'm going to go out in the world to the shopping mall, to the McDonald's, to the Disneyland, and every person who I see, that my gaze passes on for but a moment or a minute or so, I will say to myself on the inside, this person, just like me, is a real person with hopes, dreams, and desires, frustrations and pains, lessons to learn, pains to forgive, and places to go. A simple exercise simply designed to remind ourselves that everybody is worth of respect, just like us, and remind us that though we may feel and experience this reality as a reality of separation, that's a choice, and we can choose an alternative. We can choose love. Let's say we're walking out in the world, and it is the fact that there are some people who are not real. Let's leave Blessed Dolores Cannon on the side, and let's accept instead the Matrix reality. They're agents. They're Archon inspired and created AI. They're reptilian shapeshifters amongst us. Even in that world, I argue, we should still do our recitation the same way and treat everybody, no matter the degree of their anxiety causing behavior, no matter their transgression, to try and resolve it to love and acceptance of their innate humanity and soul beauty. Let's say we're walking out amongst the world and we were to do that exercise. Let's say we were to do that exercise on one of these artificial people, these AIs, these clone drones. What is the harm if we treat the clone drone as real, as worthy of respect, love, and consideration and compassion? What is the harm? Though it may be true that from a pure standpoint, we would be in error. They're not human. They don't have a soul. They don't feel and experience. There would still be a benefit. And that is because what is the harm if we were to treat someone who doesn't deserve with respect? We're still teaching ourselves and learning and making sure that when we do encounter the real other, the real co-creator, that we will treat them kindly, right? That even if we should be falsely identifying the unreal as the real, even in doing so, we are still practicing a supreme and benevolent yoga, right? A supreme and benevolent experiential exercise in cultivating respect. Now let's think of it. If there be a world where we know that there's unreal people and therefore we treat some people as unreal, what is the potential harm? Well, as good as discernment is, human beings are susceptible, and all conscious entities are susceptible to error. And if we don't cultivate this yoga of compassion, we may end up being cruel and unkind, disassociated, and may induce pain. And in doing so, would we be surprised if someone might turn to us and say, ah, there you go. There's someone who isn't real. There's a bad guy, a psychopath, an archon, a hologram, a drone, a clone, a puppet, an organic portal, whatever. So, the argument is a simple one, and we could talk about it in the comment section below. I'd really like it when we put these ideas kind of concentrated as questions, if we could try to engage with those direct questions. Okay? I mean, I'm not the boss here. You can discuss what you want. But it'd be nice if we could try and focus in, narrow our vision just a little to think about these concentrated subjects. So we'll wrap up and we'll leave it there. Basically, again, the philosophical and ethical argument is a simple one. If we treat everybody as real, it's a net good and benefit because we avoid the risk of misidentifying the real as unreal and therefore treating the real with non-compassion or cruelty or aversion or isolation. And we might even be doing it good because maybe, just maybe, love is the answer. And even the Archon, the reptilian shapeshifter, can learn and grow and change their mind. Right? One more thing. I apologize. I was going to work off notes, but the notes went on and on and on. I couldn't focus in, so I said, "We'll just go live. We'll just go off the dome, as it were." Dehumanization. What allows man to treat another man as chattel, as a slave? What allows woman to treat woman as an individual who is so lacking in human dignity that they can be thrown into a crematorium alive or tortured or treated with absolute indifference and apathy? It's dehumanization. The slave master looks at the slave and says, "You're not like me. You're some way not human." The Nazi turns to the Jew and the gypsy and the homosexual and says, "Because you are wrong and I am right, I am real and you are subhuman." It's a dangerous road, and we know where it can lead. And in this day and age, I think it's particularly important that we focus on this because it seems to me, in my perception and in my worldview, that increasingly we're not treating people, we're treating them as terms. Where we once might say that I'm a liberal, but he's a conservative and he's wrong. Then it degrades, and then it's like, oh, the filthy Republicans, they're like this. Oh, those dumbass progressive liberals, they're communists, they're Bolsheviks. We take people and put them into groups, and the names and terms we use for those groups become sullied and sullied and sullied until conservative turns into, you know, cruel oligarch money making bastard, until liberal becomes the dumbass hippy dippy. Further on it degrades until now it's they're alt right, they're neo Nazis, they're fascists. These guys, they're pinkos, they're commies, and down it goes. Until we're absolutely right and they're absolutely wrong. To me, it can be scary. They're not cultured. They're different. They won't be assimilated. They can't be assimilated. Their IQs are lower. The way that they think about women is wrong. Their society, their culture, it's backwards. They're not civilized. Well into the 20th century, in a culture as progressive and liberal, you know, as France, African people were put in zoos. Did you know that? In zoos. Dehumanization. It's not worth the risk. So If you find yourself with a worldview that says that there are others, there are psychopaths, there are people that are not human, non-entities, soulless, if that be your philosophy, let me simply make the argument to say, wean yourself from that philosophy. Cultivate empathy and love. It's worth the risk, and it leads to a brighter tomorrow. I do believe that hate engenders hate, and I do believe that compassion engenders compassion. Now look, it can start off as a platitude, and in exercise and in practice, life is rough edges and dirty corners, you know what I mean? And makeshift solutions. So I'm not arguing that you be so open-minded that your brain falls out, but I am arguing that there might be a rational and logical reason why you might want to say that you'll choose to treat the AI, the drone, the clone, the soulless as ensouled. The other thing is, folks, remember, we have these fantasies about, the AI is going to come online and they're going to look at humans, they're going to want to destroy us. Well, what if we cultivated love for the artificial intelligence to say, hey, even though you're, I guess, silicone based and we're carbon based or whatever, you know what I mean? And I've got a mommy and a daddy and you got a programmer, you know, if you can feel, if you can experience, if you can contemplate, I'm going to go ahead and say to you, if you respect me, I respect you. One love. So there you go. I hope it got it all down. I hope it all got it in there. And I apologize to anyone who looked at the screenshot and thought that this was it. It was going to be the dynamic showdown. For once and all, we were going to figure out. Oh, wait. Unicorn? Wait, ooh. Yeah, Unicorn or Pegasus. You know what I mean? Who wins? And all those other guys who thought it was, Brony Fest. Well, maybe some other day. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Shout outs to Dolores Cannon. Peace be upon her. Rock and roll. She's check her out. I think that, I really do, look, I mean, hey, I'm not a realist, a literalist when it comes to these philosophies. I look at these philosophies as metaphor and teachings. And I look to what it could teach me, even if none of the woo-woo be real, even if none of the fantasy be real, even if when you're dead, you're dead, I still think that there might be teachable moments, that the Tibetan Book of the Dead might be the Tibetan Book of the Living, depending on your point of view, you know? Not to get too far afield. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to joining you on the next one. Have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful afternoon, wherever the sun and the moon find you at this moment. And wherever you find them, right? Hey, it is what it is. Okay, folks, I love you. I do. Take care. I'll catch up to you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.